What do you do when it hurts so bad you can't even speak? When your heart is pounding, your chest is tight, and the world suddenly feels colder, sharper, like it's daring you to fight back or fold. There's a moment, just a moment where you realize no one's coming, no hand reaching out, no voice saying, I've got you. It's just you and the pain. And in that silence, something terrifying happens. You hear yourself, not the loud, confident, filtered version of you the world sees, but the raw, stripped down, cornered part. The version of you that's asking, can I actually do this? Am I strong enough? Do I even want to keep going? You don't get to prepare for that moment. It shows up in the middle of your life unannounced, right after the phone call, right after the betrayal, right after they walk out, right after the rejection letter, the diagnosis, the disappointment. And suddenly, your plans don't matter. Your affirmations don't matter. Your smile doesn't matter. What matters is what you do next. Because here's the brutal truth. Pain doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't care how good you are. It doesn't care how hard you worked. It doesn't care how much you deserve peace. It will come anyway. And when it does, when it hurts, you have two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. But make no mistake, you don't get to avoid it. Not if you're playing this game for real. Not if you're trying to rise above the average. Not if you're trying to be powerful in a world that benefits from your weakness. So the question is not, will it hurt? It will. The question is, what will you become because of it? Let's talk about that. If it hurts, it means you're in it. You're in the thick of life. You're not on the sidelines. You're not watching from the safety of the crowd. You're in the arena, taking hits, catching punches, standing toe-to-toe with everything that wants to break you. That pain you're feeling, it's not punishment, it's not failure, it's not weakness, it's evidence. Evidence that you're showing up where others hide. People love to talk about success like it's pretty, like it's calm, linear, glossy. They see the highlight reels, the applause, the promotions, the wins. What they don't see is the grit underneath, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the moments of self-doubt, so intense they make your hands shake. They don't see the emotional wounds that nobody claps for. But those wounds, they matter more than any win ever will. Because the truth is, pain is the cost of leveling up. It's the toll you pay for stepping into your potential. You don't build muscle without tearing fibers. You don't grow wisdom without making mistakes. You don't build courage without fear. And you don't gain strength unless something in your life makes you weak first. People who never feel pain aren't strong. They're untested. There's this lie out there that says if something hurts, you must be doing it wrong. That discomfort is a sign to back off, to retreat, to slow down. That's a mindset built to keep you average. Pain doesn't mean stop. It means you're exactly where you're supposed to be. When a runner hits that wall, when a boxer gets knocked down, when a single mother's holding it together on 2 hours of sleep, when a student keeps failing but still shows up to class, that's proof. That's not failure. That's commitment. We don't grow in the comfort zone. We don't sharpen in stillness. You don't learn how tough you are when everything is going your way. You learn who you are when it all falls apart, when you're exhausted and you keep going, when you're heartbroken and you still lead, when you're terrified and you still show up. That's when you become real. That's when you become dangerous. And here's the wild part. Most people will never let themselves get there. They'll stay safe, stay quiet, stay comfortable because they're afraid to feel. They think avoiding pain is strength, but it's not. Numbness is not strength. Indifference is not strength. Avoidance is not power. It's just delay. The more you dodge pain, the more you delay your evolution. There's something sacred about pain. Something most people will never understand unless they've sat in it long enough without running. Pain reveals, it strips away the lies you've told yourself. It forces you to look at what you're made of, not what you want people to think you are, but what's actually in you. When everything is stripped down and all you've got left is your breath and your will, that's when you meet yourself for real. Think about it. When have you grown the most in your life? When everything was perfect? When the path was smooth? Or was it when you were on your knees, unsure how you'd get back up, but you did anyway? We remember those moments. We remember them because they shape us. They change our standard. They redefine what we believe is possible for ourselves. So if you're hurting right now, if you're in the thick of it, I want you to pause and consider something radical. What if this isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? What if the universe isn't trying to destroy you? It's trying to awaken you. What if the pain you feel is not a dead end, but a doorway? Because here's what pain does. It sharpens your vision. It clarifies your values. It teaches you who's real. It teaches you where your boundaries should be. It makes you tougher, smarter, more resilient. You stop tolerating nonsense. You stop wasting time. You stop apologizing for your ambition. Pain makes you cleaner. It purifies your character. And no, it doesn't feel good. But since when does transformation feel good? Since when is becoming your highest self a painless journey? It's supposed to cost you something. If it didn't, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be great. But they're not. Do you want to know why? Because pain is the barrier between the life you have and the life you want. And most people bow to it. But if you're listening right now, you're not like most people. You're feeling it and still standing. You're not folding. You're not making excuses. You're not blaming the world. You're showing up bruised, tired, angry even, but you're showing up, and that makes you dangerous. So don't curse the pain. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Let it work on you. Let it teach you. Let it remind you that you're in the game. Because there will come a day, if you stay in the fight, when the very thing that's breaking you right now will become the reason you're unbreakable later. And when that day comes, you'll look back on this pain, not with regret, but with reverence. Because it wasn't just pain, it was your turning point. Pain speaks. The problem is, most people never stop long enough to hear what it's trying to say. We live in a world obsessed with avoiding discomfort. We medicate it, distract from it, silence it, numb it. We scroll, binge, drink, pretend. But the truth is, pain is never random. It's never meaningless. It always carries a message. And if you're willing to listen, really listen, it can give you insight that no amount of comfort ever could. Pain doesn't just show up to break you, it shows up to wake you. Maybe you're feeling exhausted every day, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and you think the solution is another vacation or a break from work. But what if that exhaustion is trying to tell you something deeper, that you're living out of alignment, that you're chasing someone else's version of success, that you're pouring into people who only take, that you're tolerating things that are slowly draining your soul. What we call burnout is often unprocessed pain, and pain never disappears. It stores, it hides, it morphs. If you don't face it, it will show up in other places. Your sleep, your attitude, your relationships, your body. People don't just randomly explode or shut down. That's years of ignored pain, speaking all at once. But here's the trap most people fall into. They either run from the pain or drown in it. They shut it down or they let it consume them. But there's a third option, the one very few are willing to take. Sit with it, observe it, let it speak, but don't let it define you. You have to become fluent in your own suffering. You have to be brave enough to ask yourself questions. Most people are too scared to answer, why did that moment crush me the way it did? Why did that person's words cut so deep? Why do I keep repeating the same toxic pattern? What am I avoiding that keeps showing up in new forms? Most people are afraid of pain because they think if they sit with it, it'll never leave. But it's the opposite. Pain only lingers when you avoid the lesson. When you refuse to listen, it screams louder. The moment you lean in and face it with honesty and curiosity, something incredible happens. It softens. It starts to reveal things. It begins to make sense. Your pain is not here to define you as a victim. It's here to make you a student of yourself. The hurt you feel in your relationships. Maybe it's telling you that you've been betraying yourself to please others. The frustration you feel in your work, maybe it's showing you that you're built for more, but fear has you staying small. The deep sadness that creeps in late at night, maybe that's your soul begging you to grieve something you've been pretending didn't matter. But here's the catch. You can't just intellectualize pain. You can't turn it into a quick fix or a motivational quote. You have to feel it all the way through. You have to give it a voice without letting it drive your life. It's like sitting with a wounded animal. You approach gently, patiently, and without fear. You don't need to judge your pain. You don't need to compare it to someone else's. You don't need to label it as dramatic or invalid. Whatever hurts you, hurts you. That's real. But feeling it doesn't mean drowning in it. But there's a discipline in allowing yourself to hurt without letting it paralyze you. There's power in acknowledging your heartbreak without becoming it. Emotions are messengers, not dictators. They knock on the door to deliver something, and then they move on. But when you pretend they're not there, they set up camp inside of you. And suddenly, you're reacting from a place you don't understand. You're pushing people away. You're sabotaging opportunities. You're stuck and you don't know why. That's what happens when you drown in pain. You lose sight of your power. You forget who you are. You become so consumed by the story of what hurt you that you forget you can rewrite the ending. Pain becomes destructive when you refuse to process it, but pain becomes transformative when you choose to decode it. Think of the most powerful people you know, not the loudest or the richest, but the real ones. The ones who walk into a room and you can feel their depths. The ones who speak and you stop breathing for a second because there's truth in their voice. Those people, they've sat with pain. They've bled, they've broken, but they didn't drown. They learned. And that's the kind of strength you need when it hurts. Not to run, not to get swallowed, but to sit still and listen. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? What am I not seeing clearly? What truth have I been avoiding? What part of me needs to heal? What do I need to change, not just outside, but within? Pain is a mirror. It shows you what you value, what you've lost, what you need. It reveals your patterns. It exposes your fears. It invites you to grow. But growth isn't loud. It's not always inspiring or pretty. Sometimes it looks like crying at 3 a.m. Sometimes it looks like choosing to walk away from people you still love. Sometimes it looks like journaling the same thought 100 times until it finally clicks. This is the work most won't do, but it's the work that sets you free. So when it hurts, and it will, don't just ask, why me? Ask, what now? Don't just wish it away. Listen, then rise. Some people will hurt you and walk away like nothing happened. They'll say things that cut so deep you carry the echo of their words for years. They'll betray you, abandon you, lie to you, or use you, and somehow sleep peacefully at night. The truth is, there are people out there who will cause pain and never take responsibility for it. With their actions, their words, their damage, none of it can define who you are, unless you hand them that power. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn. What someone did to you doesn't get to shape your identity unless you allow it to. Yet, so many people carry their pain like a name tag. Not good enough, unlovable, too much, not enough. Labels that were never yours to begin with. Labels that came from the mouths of people who didn't see your worth, or worse, were threatened by it. But here's the truth. Someone else's inability to love you the right way isn't proof that you're broken. It's proof that they were unqualified for your heart. Someone's betrayal isn't a reflection of your weakness. It's a reflection of their character. What they did may have changed your life, but it doesn't get to change your identity. That's your decision, and it always will be. The problem is, when you're hurt by someone you trusted, the pain doesn't stay clean. It doesn't stay in the moment. It bleeds. It spreads. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I really am too sensitive. Maybe I did deserve that. Maybe I should have just stayed quiet. You internalize the pain. And once that happens, their voice becomes your voice. You don't need them to keep hurting you. You're now doing it to yourself. It happens subtly. You stop trusting people. You pull back. You minimize your presence. You lower your expectations. You build walls and call it independence. You confuse isolation with strength, but deep down, the voice is still there, echoing things that were never true, but repeated just enough to feel real. You have to realize something. The people who hurt you didn't see the full picture of who you are. They saw a version filtered through their own wounds, fears, insecurities, and limitations. You were never seen clearly, and that's not your fault. That's on them. And the pain they caused doesn't prove they were right about you. It proves they were wrong. You cannot build your life on the foundation of someone else's broken perception. You cannot let the actions of another become your internal compass. If you do, you'll spend your life trying to prove your worth instead of owning it. And the more you chase validation from the people who hurt you, the more power you give them, the more you let them define you, the more disconnected you become from your truth. So, how do you take that power back? First, you acknowledge the pain, but you stop letting it narrate your story. What happened was real. The hurt was real. But it's a chapter, it's not the book. You don't need to pretend it didn't affect you, but you also don't need to let it own you. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in response. Second, you start talking to yourself louder than the echo of their voice. You start rewriting the script. Where they said, "You're nothing," you say, "I am enough." Where they said, "You'll never make it," you say, "Watch me." Where they said, "You're too hard to love," you say, "I deserve love without conditions." You don't wait for their apology to heal. You stop expecting closure from people who never respected your pain in the first place. And then maybe the hardest part, you forgive. Not for them, not to let them off the hook, but to unhook yourself. Because when you carry resentment, you're still carrying them. When you replay what they did to you over and over, you're letting them live rent-free in your mind. Forgiveness doesn't mean they were right. It means they no longer get to control your energy. It means you're done bleeding from wounds they caused. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who were deeply hurt, but didn't become bitter. They rebuilt, they chose to love again, trust again, believe again. And that's not weakness, that's power. It's easy to shut down. It's easy to become cold. It takes strength to stay open after being broken. You don't get to choose who hurt you, but you always get to choose what you do with the pain. You can wear it like armor, or you can turn it into fuel. You can let it define your limitations, or let it remind you of your resilience. So the next time you feel yourself replaying their words, remembering their absence, questioning your worth because of their actions, pause and say this to yourself: I am not their opinion. I am not their choices. I am not their inability to love me. I am mine. The people who hurt you, they don't get to write your story. You do. No one sees the hours you cry yourself to sleep. No one watches the nights when the weight is so heavy, even breathing feels like a battle. No one applauds when you're fighting your demons at 2 a.m., sitting on your floor wondering if it's all even worth it. These moments, these brutal, quiet, soul-rattling moments, that's where grit is born. Not in the spotlight, not on stage, not when everyone's watching. Grit doesn't come from praise. It comes from pressure. It comes from the dark, when there's no one around to cheer you on, no one to notice your effort, no one to tell you, you've got this. That's where you either break or build. Everyone wants to look strong. Everyone wants the results, the recognition, the glory. But not everyone is willing to go through the dark to earn it. They want the outcome, but not the process. They want the muscle, but not the burn. They want the wisdom, but not the pain that teaches it. But grit, real grit, is not something you're born with. It's something you build when you're forced to stand tall with nothing holding you up but your own will. It happens when everything falls apart and you're still expected to show up. When the pressure doesn't ease and you're still standing. Grit is that voice inside you that says, get up, even when every bone in your body screams to stay down. It's the choice to keep going, not because it's easy, but because you made a promise to yourself. And here's the thing, no one claps for your private battles. They don't see the mornings you get out of bed with a broken heart and still get dressed. They don't witness the courage it takes to keep putting in the work when results are nowhere in sight. They don't notice the small wins that feel massive when you're going through hell. But those moments, they matter. They shape you in ways comfort never will. Comfort is seductive. It tells you to rest, to stop, to settle. But the dark, the grind, the hardship, the adversity, that's where your real self emerges. That's where your excuses die and your discipline takes over. That's where you stop pretending and start becoming, because in the dark, there's no one left to impress. There's only truth. This is where your habits are tested, where your consistency is proven, where your commitment gets exposed. It's easy to be committed when things are going your way. It's easy to stay motivated when the results come fast. But what about when they don't? What about when it's been months, even years, and you're still waiting to see the payoff? That's when you find out who you really are. You don't build grit with hype, you build it with heartbreak, with solitude, with disappointment, with days where nothing makes sense, but you keep showing up anyway. You build it in the silence when you've got no audience, no reassurance, no comfort, and you still choose the work. You still choose the discipline. You still choose you. People love the finished product. They love strength when it's loud and visible. But strength is quiet when it's real. It's built in the gym at 5 a.m. It's built in the late night study sessions. It's built in the choice to forgive when resentment feels easier. It's built in the discipline to walk away from what's toxic, even when it's familiar. That's grit. And it's ugly, it's exhausting, it's lonely, but it's necessary. You'll never develop true resilience in a life without struggle. You can't be unbreakable if you've never been broken. You can't stand firm if the wind's never tried to knock you over. Life has to put you in situations where your back's against the wall, because that's the only place where you learn how to push back harder. And don't misunderstand this. Building grit doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you're immune to pain. It means you feel it all and keep going anyway. It means you cry, but don't quit. You stumble, but don't stay down. You doubt, but you don't stop. And maybe no one sees the work you're doing in the dark right now. Maybe no one is clapping. Maybe you're questioning if it's even making a difference. But hear this, what you're building in the shadows is what will carry you in the light. The version of you that can't be shaken, that version is being built right now, in this moment, in this season, in this silence. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The real power comes from proving it to yourself, that you can show up for your life even when it doesn't feel good, that you can stay consistent even when motivation is gone, that you can keep choosing growth even when no one else is watching. Because one day the lights will turn on. And when they do, people will call you strong. They'll call you fearless. They'll call you relentless. But you'll know the truth. You weren't born that way. You built it. In the dark, there's a moment in every person's life when the pain becomes too loud to ignore, when you can't fake the smile anymore, when the weight on your chest is heavier than any words of encouragement can lift. That moment, the one where everything inside you screams to give up, that's the one that defines you. That's the moment you're no longer just surviving life. You're deciding who you're going to become. Because pain doesn't leave you the same, it changes you. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about timing. It breaks into your life, rips through your plans, and shatters the picture you painted in your head. It's ruthless. But within that destruction lies a decision. Do I let this destroy me, or do I let this build me into something new? When it hurts, really hurts, you come to a crossroads. One path is easy: blame the world, close your heart, and shrink your life. Stay bitter, stay guarded, build walls so no one can hurt you again. That's the survival route. It's safe, it's comfortable, and it requires nothing from you but to stay stuck. The other path, that one is brutal. It asks you to feel every ounce of the pain and still move, to show up with your heart, still bleeding, and say, this won't be the end of me. This choice doesn't happen once, it happens every day. Every morning you wake up after being rejected, betrayed, abandoned, or broken. It happens again, you choose. Will I show up bitter, or will I show up better? And the hardest part, no one can make that choice for you. Not your friend, not your mentors, not the ones who love you. Only you can decide what you do with your pain. The world will try to rush your healing. They'll say you should be over it by now. They'll expect you to bounce back, to smile like nothing happened. But healing doesn't move on anyone else's schedule. And becoming who you're meant to be, that takes time, it takes work, and it takes a level of honesty most people aren't ready for. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. What kind of person do I want to be after this pain? Do I want to be hardened and guarded, or wise and strong? Do I want this pain to own me forever, or do I want to own what comes next? Because here's the truth. You don't get to choose the pain, but you do get to choose the meaning. You don't get to rewind time, but you do get to rewrite what this chapter will stand for. Pain can become your prison or your platform. It can bury you, or it can build the foundation for something greater than anything you ever imagined. The strongest, most compassionate, most unshakable people you'll ever meet have one thing in common. They've been through something. Not just something that hurt, they've been through something that could have destroyed them. And instead of letting it define their limits, they used it to define their legacy. When you hurt, you feel like everything is falling apart. But sometimes the fall is the beginning of the rise. Sometimes you have to lose what you thought you needed to become who you were meant to be. And sometimes it's in the absence of what you thought gave you strength that you discover your real power. Your pain is not random. It's not meaningless. It's an invitation, a brutal, often unwelcome one, but an invitation nonetheless to rise, to become, to let go of who you used to be. So you can evolve into who you're capable of becoming, that version of you, the one who's stronger, wiser, calmer, clearer. That version is on the other side of this. But you have to go through it to reach them. Don't let your pain become your identity. Don't live the rest of your life through the lens of what someone else did to you. Don't carry their voice in your head. Don't let their decisions define your potential. What happened to you may shape your story, but it doesn't get to write your ending. You do. And yes, it will be hard. There will be days when you fall apart all over again, days when the memory reopens like a fresh wound, days when it feels like you're moving backwards, but keep moving anyway. Healing isn't linear. Growth isn't a straight line. Becoming isn't clean. It's messy, painful, and filled with doubt. But every time you choose to get up again, even when it would be easier not to, you're becoming. Every time you speak truth to the lies that pain tries to whisper, you're becoming. Every time you love again, trust again, try again, you're becoming. You're choosing, you're defining, you're building a version of yourself that no pain can destroy. So the next time it hurts, and it will, remember this: you are not powerless. You are not a victim. You are not stuck. You are standing at the edge of transformation. And what you decide to do in that moment, that's what separates the ones who just survive life from the ones who own it. You don't become powerful in the absence of pain. You become powerful because of how you rise through it. Pain isn't the end of you. It's the beginning of a version of you that the world hasn't met yet. A version forged in silence, shaped by fire, and sharpened by every tear, setback, and heartbreak you thought would break you, but it didn't. You're still here. You're still standing, and that means you've got a choice. You can keep reliving the hurt, or you can rise from it. You can let it become the excuse for why you stopped, or the reason you became unstoppable. You can carry it like a weight that drags you down, or a weapon that builds your resilience. Either way, it will change you. But how it changes you, that's entirely up to you. Because pain doesn't get the final word. You do. And if you're willing to face it, to feel it, to fight through it, you won't just survive it. You'll own it. You'll grow from it. And one day, you'll stand on everything that tried to break you and build something unshakable. Let the pain shape you, but never let it define you. The next chapter starts when you decide who you're going to become, especially when it hurts.